As the throne wars reach their conclusion, Li Yun Xiao completely embarrasses Qin Yue's opposition in a refining battle to help him become the new emperor of Tianshui. However, his ascension to the throne is spoiled by Zhou Yushan kidnapping Qin Rushui. After ensuring her safety, Yun Xiao prepares to enact revenge against the entire Zhou family. For now, though, he heads to the Thousand Treasures auction as the newly appointed city lord of Martial Flame City. Arriving at the Thousand Treasures Tower, Yun Xiao marvels at its glory that is even beyond his expectations. Possessing immense wealth that rivals a country, the organization has hired many refiners and martial artists to offer their services. Meng Bai spots a large group of people gathered in the distance and excitedly rushes through the crowd, leading his master to the item garnering such attention: a second-tier windbreak poisonous weasel egg. While Jia Rong and Meng Wu lose their minds over the super-rare treasure, Yun Xiao remains unimpressed, declaring it to be just a regular green demon beast egg. However, he soon realizes that cooking the poisonous weasel egg will be beneficial for Meng Bai nonetheless. Right then, some customers start bargaining the item's price with the shopkeeper, who is selling it for an absurd amount of 10,000 middle-tier primordial stones. Blood should be in a call center with the scams that he is running. The annoyed seller refuses to give even an inch, forcing the buyers to spend all their life savings on it. They only put forward one condition: the seller has to prove whether the second-tier windbreak poisonous weasel egg is the real thing. This infuriates the shopkeeper, who announces that he is doing business under the Thousand Treasures Tower's name, meaning that selling fakes would be equivalent to courting death. Convinced by this explanation, the customers prepare to hand off their money, but then Jia Rong steps in, revealing that the vitality of the egg is weakening. As such, it will die within a month. Hearing this, the buyers quickly take back his primordial stones. The seller threatens to make Jia Rong pay for spewing nonsense, prompting the refiner to call them out for tricking the customers. Jia Rong also tells everyone that the seller has been concealing the egg's purple stripes by hiding it inside a crystal box with a rainbow hue. As the latter accuses the former of making things up, he points to his second-tier refiner badge, proving his skills and credibility. Of course, Jia Rong himself was clueless and only came to know of the egg's vitality through his young master Yun. Having worked hard for many years to save up their money, the buyers start calling the scammer names. Squaring up and down that he didn't know that the egg was going to die, the seller closes up shop. The customers thank Jia Rong for his service and head off. As the seller begins to pack up, Yun Xiao approaches him, questioning if he is still willing to sell the egg. Despite not understanding why anyone would buy a dying egg, the man desperately tries to sell it off for 5,000 middle-tier primordial stones. Of course, utilizing his masterful heckling skills, Yun Xiao scams the scammer and leaves. Du pulled out the UNO reverse. Jia Rong joins him, praising his evil master, forgetting the item worth 10,000 for just 100. Seeing them together, the seller realizes that he has been played. Meng Bai tries to tease his master for being up to no good again, only to lose all joy upon learning that this second-tier windbreak poison weasel egg is for him to eat. Without delay, the poor boy tries to run, but Yun Xiao stops him right in his tracks. The reincarnated soul assures Meng Bai that eating the egg will help him a lot in the future. Holding the giant egg in his hands, the disciple questions how long it will take for him to consume such a thing. His master's next words leave him in tears as he reveals that Meng Bai will have to eat it all at once to absorb the toxins efficiently. Consoling her brother, Meng Wu laments not having a good demon beast egg to hatch into a cute little baby. Suddenly, Yun Xiao hands her a real demon beast egg that he found inside Xu Pinghong's storage ring, leaving Jia Rong and Meng Bai jealous. Promising to teach Meng Wu how to tame the beast when it's time, the boy reveals that after doing so, she will be able to travel freely in the Dusk Flame Empire. As Meng Bai protests not being given the egg that looks tastier, Yun Xiao smacks him. He then tells the siblings to put away the eggs quickly, since everyone is staring at them. Receiving such a precious gift from Yun Xiao, without him even thinking twice about it, Meng Wu blushes, getting treated so well for the first time in her life. While the crowd gossips about the reincarnated soul, Meng Bai wonders if his sister's body is burning up because she has a fever. Oh, you sweet summer child. Unbeknownst to him, Meng Wu is just lovesick, and he gets smacked for bringing it up. Meanwhile, Jia Rong urges the need to hurry away from the area, afraid that people already have their eyes set on them as targets. However, Yun Xiao declares that there's no need to worry. He vows to make anyone who even dares to look at them wrong sleep eternally. Right then, Yun Xiao spots a glowing fruit nearby. He heads to the seller to ask his price, getting told that it's 5,000 low-tier primordial stones. Hearing this, Manga starts yelling at the shopkeeper for robbing people in broad daylight. The enraged seller shouts at the brat, insisting that the item is a precious soul fruit, despite not even knowing its name. However, he saw a third-tier scaled python and a third-tier blood-strike tiger fight to the death for the fruit, so the seller believes that its price is way higher than what he's asking. Being the master of reasoning that he is, Yun Xiao questions if the man let those two heavily injured beasts off after somehow managing to get the fruit from them, leaving him in a cold sweat. Yun Xiao tells the seller not to worry, as a third-tier demon beast's corpse, despite being a treasure, isn't something he desires. Wanting to buy the teeth of the blood-strike tiger and the soul fruit instead, the boy asks the shopkeeper to give him a price. The latter still hesitates, prompting the former to declare that no one will dare to attack him in the 1,000 treasures auction. However, the seller isn't convinced. He fears that the hungry wolves in the crowd won't let him walk out of the country alive. Having felt many sharp gazes on him for a while now, Yun Xiao realizes that the seller is right. Right then, the shopkeeper remarks that the boy can have the blood-strike tiger's teeth, but only as a package deal with the whole corpse for 5,000 middle-grade primordial stones. The soul fruit will just be a free gift, along with the tiger. After confirming the status of the teeth, Yun Xiao finalizes the deal and puts the items in his storage ring. Jia Rong once again worries about the gazes, getting told to just ignore them and not stop those who want to die. Suddenly, Manga comes running there shouting, pointing to the distance where Chunjun and Hunbai are getting confronted by someone. Call them Luffy, the way they can't stay out of trouble. For more than 2 seconds, Yun Xiao walks through the crowd and asks his friends, "What's going on?" Chunjun reveals that they found some 100 pattern hydrangeas, but some people came running there and forcefully took them away. Since the ingredient is what he needs to make 6 sunset gold pills to save Jimon, Yun Xiao concludes that he must make them spit it out. As Hunbai points to the people who took away the 100 pattern hydrangeas, their leader walks forward. Showing no intention of giving it back, he tells Yun Xiao's group to get lost, threatening to cut off the fingers of anyone who dares to point at him one more time. Observing the people, the reincarnated soul notes that their leader is just a 9-star martial master, but is backed by a dozen guards, including a martial lord and 2 great martial masters. At that precise instant, an old man drags himself there, complaining that the customer hasn't paid yet. Getting enraged at the accusation of being a thief, the martial master tells the seller to get lost. As the old man tries to protest that it's the greatest treasure of his stall, Yun Xiao turns to him and asks for the price. Hearing that it's 200 middle-grade primordial stones, the boy decides to buy the ingredient. The seller thanks Yun Xiao, albeit being afraid of taking the items from the evildoers. Telling him that it's fine, the reincarnated soul announces that he will retrieve them himself. Blued on that, fine, I will do it myself vibe. Yun Xiao approaches the martial master, daring him to reiterate his earlier threat, calling the former mad. The latter boasts about his family background, telling him to kowtow a few times and get lost. Of course, Yun Xiao charges at the martial master instead, cutting him with his blade. Jumping back, the young lord freezes at the sight of his own blood for a moment before screaming out in agony. One of the dozen guards leaps at Yun Xiao to defend his master, only to get ruthlessly sliced up. Looking at the boy blatantly murdering someone in broad daylight, the spectators scream out in disbelief. Yun Xiao then makes a chilling proclamation, declaring that anyone who dares to hurt a brother of his must die, regardless of their status. As numerous guards rush at him, the reincarnated soul tells his friends to retreat. Dancing like the wind, Yun Xiao slashes up everyone who stands in his way. Seeing his bodyguards meet such a gruesome fate, the martial master jumps back in fear. Finally, the martial lord steps forward, declaring that no one can save Yun Xiao now. He unleashes his chi in the form of 2 crimson palms and hurls it towards him. Suddenly, the boy screams out for Commander Hong to come out and not wait until he dies, promising a terrifying future for him, in case he does. Right then, a man in knight-like attire jumps out of the shadows and intercepts the martial lord's attack, deflecting it right back at him. The guard questions the man's identity, boasting about his young lord's status, and flaming him for sticking his nose into other people's business. Turns out, this is none other than the Team 1 commander of Martial Flame City's city defense, Hong Bing. Chilling. Okay, I will see myself out now. Psych. Declaring that he doesn't care who they are, Hong Bing vows to keep the troublemakers in line as long as they are in the territory of Martial Flame City. At the same time, the commander wonders how his new city lord, who he has been discreetly following around, managed to notice him. All of a sudden, the martial lord starts protesting that the boy hurt his young master and even killed his bodyguards, telling Hong Bing to do something about it. However, the commander instantly shuts him down, remarking that he only saw them hitting Li Yun Xiao. While the martial lord continues to rant, his young lord speaks up, once again boasting about himself as someone who even the emperor of Tianshui would be polite to. The martial master orders Hong Bing to bring his city lord to him. Finally, he announces himself as the Dust Flame Empire's Xinjiang family's heir, Tiandang Mountains. The young lord smirks, thinking that this proclamation will scare his opponents. Much to his dismay, Li Yun Xiao only insults him for being someone he has never even heard of, no longer having to hesitate, since Yang Jia isn't a big shot. Like he thought, the boy charges to kill them all off, ordering Hong Bing to keep the martial lord busy in the meantime. Getting disrespected in such a manner, Yang Jia coughs out blood and braces himself for the onslaught that is about to follow. The last of Yang Jia's bodyguards leaps at Li Yun Xiao in annoyance, wielding his twin blades to collide with the boy's sword. Looking at the scene, the girl asks Old Man Yu if Li Yun Xiao is the third-tier refiner Yuan Hao talked about. Confirming it to be true, the geezer reveals that he has been following the boy ever since he entered the Thousand Treasures auction. Blood, a more committed stalker than Taylor Swift stands. Not only does Li Yun Xiao have extremely sharp eyes, but he is also somehow pushing back a 3-star Great Martial Master, despite being just a 4-star Martial Master. A martial arts genius along with being a third-tier refiner at just 15 years old. He thinks that Li Yun Xiao is an even greater talent than the young lady accompanying him. The girl wonders if they should jump in to stop the fight, considering Yang Jia dying would create a big mess. Despite not feeling concerned about the Xinjiang family, the old man doesn't dare to overlook that one of their ancestors is an elder of the Heaven Gathering sect. So, he heads out to intervene. Meanwhile, Li Yun Xiao overpowers the Great Martial Master and skillfully unarms him. Seeing the boy's blade swing towards him, the grown-ass man tears up, fearing that he is going to die. Halt! A loud voice roars out as the geezer jumps in to stop Li Yun Xiao's onslaught. He tells the boy to forgive and forget, remarking that the Xinjiang family isn't one that he should go against. Much to the old man's dismay, Li Yun Xiao has been aware of someone watching him since coming to the auction and feels relieved that he has finally shown himself. While he gets flustered at somehow getting noticed, the boy pushes him aside, being in no mood to chat at the moment. He rushes to finish off Yang Jia and his bodyguard, getting his sword flung away by the geezer. Just from that one strike, Li Yun Xiao successfully figures out that he uses 7-star Martial King and uses the Plum Blossom Point Break form, leaving him in disbelief. Reprimanding the geezer for saving Yang Jia, the reincarnated soul declares him as his enemy. However, Yu insists that he merely saved Li Yun Xiao from bringing ruin to himself. Hearing the boy's name, Yang Jia promises to kill him for generations to come, putting his manhood on the line. In the same breath, the coward retreats. Li Yun Xiao gives you an annoyed look, remarking that it's kill or be killed against Yang Jia at this point. Moreover, as the medicinal materials he needs to save Jimeng are still in the young lord's possession, Li Yun Xiao questions how Yu intends to fix things. At the same time, the boy discreetly signals Jia Rong and the others, making them run off somewhere. Being a self-centered and prideful brat, Yang Jia won't let Li Yun Xiao off the hook until one of them dies. As such, the reincarnated soul holds the geezer responsible for the situation, telling him to worry about how he will pay him back. Li Yun Xiao begins to head off, getting asked to hold on, as the girl accompanying Yu wishes to speak to him. However, the boy ignores the request. Certified Sigma moment, the old man forcefully grabs Li Yun Xiao by his arm, insisting that he doesn't do anything stupid. Offended by Yu trying to force him, the reincarnated soul gazes into his soul, declaring that being a 7-star martial king doesn't make him invincible. As Yun Xiao frees himself, the girl accompanying the geezer shows up and reveals that she has some 100-pattern hydrangea. Walking onto the scene with unmatched eloquence, the young lady defends Yu's choice not to let Yun Xiao kill Yang Jia. She feels that there's still room to smooth things over between the two as opposed to the massive trouble that would have followed otherwise. Unconvinced, Yun Xiao questions what will happen if Yang Jia comes back with a strong fighter to finish him off. Introducing herself as Ding Ling and the geezer as Yu Rong, the girl vows to step up in case such a thing happens. Yun Xiao finally comes around, or so it seems, as he entrusts Ding Ling to clean up the mess. The young lady in Yu Rong gets confused at first, soon realizing what the boy is implying. Brought by Yang Jia as backup, a massive armada of soldiers approaches the group from the horizon, led by a lord of the Dust Flame Empire's 4 great families, Cheng Feiji. Realizing her current predicament, Ding Ling tries to convince him that the entire event was a massive misunderstanding and hopes that he can overlook the matter. Questioning the identity of the troublemaker, Feiji wonders how he made the girl act as his spokesperson. Yang Jia chimes in, telling him not to trust a selfish businesswoman like her, thinking that she must have gotten some sort of benefit from Yun Xiao. Infuriated, Yu Rong reminds Yang Jia that he saved his life earlier and didn't benefit one bit from it. The ungrateful young lord snarks, remarking that the geezer only saved him to save Yun Xiao. Even the reincarnated soul piles on the already enraged Yu Rong, wondering if he still thinks that saving Yang Jia was the right decision. Bro getting cooked. Ding Ling asks Feiji to think of sparing Yun Xiao as just giving her some face, considering she is someone who frequently engages in business deals with the Dust Flame Empire's 4 great families, leveraging the fact that she belongs to the Tianyuan Commerce Guild. Ding Ling insists that Feiji bury this matter right here. Being one of the 13 board of directors of the Commerce Alliance, the Tianyuan Commerce Guild possesses great influence. Moreover, the Thousand Treasures Tower is also one of the group's 7 permanent directors, being the leader of the whole organization. As such, the Commerce Alliance has become a superpower in the Tianwu continent, and no one dares to act against it. Since Yang Jia represents the Dust Flame Empire's aristocrats, and Yu Xiao dared to not only kill his subordinate, but also chop off 5 of his fingers, Feiji insists that he is just trying to save their dignity. However, as he can't embarrass Ding Ling either, the only remaining choice is for Yun Xiao to kowtow 10 times, destroy his Dan Tian, cut off his arms, and kneel at the auction's entrance throughout its entire duration. Then, Feiji will spare him. The Chum family's man-ankle lord asks Ding Ling what she thinks of his proposal, making Yang Jia burst out laughing with his benevolence. While the girl gets flustered, Yun Xiao simply laughs, declaring that it's been years since he has seen such pretentious scum. After all, the ones before him, who dared to act in such a way, no longer live. Declaring the boy ungrateful for rejecting his kindness, Feiji tells Ding Ling to not accidentally get involved in the crossfire and mobilizes his troops. Yun Xiao calmly observes his situation, noting that Feiji is backed by 2 martial kings and 4 martial lords. Meanwhile, Ding Ling scolds the Cheng family's lord for trying to humiliate him, who blames her and the boy for bringing this upon themselves. Suddenly, Yun Xiao lets out a sinister grin and mocks Feiji. He then brings out the cloud-piercing arrows, sending a signal to the student army, oblivious to what awaits him. Feiji laughs in the boy's face for trying to use Tian Shuoi's military against him. While the cocky young lord continues to hurl insults at Yun Xiao, one of the martial kings backing him gets alerted by something. The ground shakes as the student army stomps through the city and gathers around their commander-in-chief. They unleash their killing intent, concentrating it into the sky to form the god-slaying finger. As Feiji screams out in disbelief, Bai Chengfeng arrives on the scene, announcing that all 2,330 members of Heaven's Core have assembled for their young master Yun. Still the hardest name ever. Right then, Jia Rong and the others return as well, bringing with them Xiao Qingwang, Lu Yunshan, Li Chunyang, Li Changfeng, and Chen Da Sheng. Just when I thought it couldn't get crazier, the first unit of the State Guardians swoops onto the battlefield too, led by Yan and greeting their young master Yun. Witnessing this sight, Feiji and his men start trembling in their boots. Yun Xiao calls out the bodyguard, who disrespected him just moments ago, making him swear up and down that he did no such thing. prioritizing their own well-being over their idiotic lord's pride. The guards run for their lives. Of course, Yun Xiao doesn't let anyone who dares insult him off the hook. With a flick of his hand, the reincarnated soul pulls the naive bodyguard towards himself, putting an end to his unremarkable life. Seeing this, Yang Jia loses all strength in his body and falls to his knees. Without delay, Yun Xiao shouts out, commanding his martial army to kill every last one of the disrespectful fools. Brimming with killing intent, the soldiers leap at Fei Ji and his guards to end their lives, showing no regard for their status as an esteemed noble family of the Dusk Flame Empire. Right then, Xiao Qingwang approaches the two one-star martial kings defending Fei Ji and invites them to greet him properly. Utterly outclassed by the 8-star martial king, the two bodyguards get crushed. Realizing that Yun Xiao is truly crazy, Fei Ji looks around in a panic. He screams his lungs out and boasts about belonging to the Chung family's direct line, demanding to meet the city lord. However, no one bats him an eye. Get aired lol. Hearing the painful cries of his armada, Fei Ji trembles, understanding once and for all that the maniacal student army doesn't care who he is at all. Yu Rong and Ding Ling witness the scene with the same level of disbelief as the latter begs Yun Xiao to stop. She reiterates that killing a direct descendant of one of the 4 great noble families would bring ruin to the whole of Tian Shui, but the boy remains unbothered. Yun Xiao doubles down, proclaiming that he won't mind erasing the entire Chung family from the Dusk Flame Empire if they step out of line. This bold claim leaves Ding Ling in complete shock, making her wonder if the reincarnated soul is a 6-tier refiner or 7 constellations realm martial emperor. Xiao Qingwang, Chen Da Sheng, Li Chunyang, and Li Changfeng bring the raging battle to a rousing finale, hurling the last of the enemy troops right behind Fei Ji and Yang Jia. Surrounded by Yun Xiao's forces, the Chun family's young lord starts kowtowing. Admitting his misdeeds, he begs for the reincarnated soul to spare their lives and vows to do no wrong again. Ling Ding and Yu Rong also tell Yun Xiao to let them go, as the Tian Yuan Commerce Guild will be able to sweep this under the rug if he stops now. Of course, Yun Xiao tells the two to shut up. That's why he's the goat. He only deems the 1,000 Treasures Tower to be worthy of his respect, deeming the rest to be nothing but trash. Hearing these words, Yu Rong falls silent and Ling Ding wonders if this is the end of the Tian Yuan Commerce Guild. Meanwhile, Fei Ji continues to beg for mercy, even pissing his pants in the process. Disgusting, mutters Yun Xiao, ordering Yan to just kill fools. Zipping through the sky, a man shouts out, questioning who dares to end lives in the 1,000 Treasures auction. Yun Xiao screams at Yan to hurry up, but the commander remains frozen in place. Being the elder guardian of the 1,000 Treasures Tower's Dusk Flame Empire branch, the 6 Directions Realm Martial Grandmaster, Yin Chaoyang makes his appearance. Infuriated, the crushing pressure he exerts renders everyone unable to move a single muscle. Since acts of theft and murder are forbidden during the 1,000 Treasures auction, Ling Dinger worries that they are done for. At the same time, Fei Ji starts celebrating that his life is spared. Introducing himself as the young lord of the Chung family, he begs Elder Yin to save him. Out of nowhere, a sword stabs him in the chest. Fei Ji turns around, only to see that the act was committed by none other than Yang Jia. Moving like a zombie, the latter then puts the sword to his own neck. A spurt of blood follows, and Yang Jia's lifeless corpse falls to the ground. Just like that, the two disrespectful fools meet their miserable demise. In the reflection of Yang Jia's dilated pupils, Yun Xiao appears with his moon eye technique, reiterating his earlier proclamation. Holy chills. Realizing that the boy was responsible for the horrifying scene all along, Ding Ling is left questioning if he is really just 15 years old. At the same time, Yin Chaoyang furiously screams out. Witnessing the 1,000 Treasures Tower's rules getting broken, as if they are nothing, the Martial Grandmaster unleashes his chi, vowing to kill everyone who stands before him. Ling Ding tries to reason with him, but the elder is in no mood to chat. To him, only death is a fitting punishment for those who dare to break the tower's sacred rules. Qiaoyang's eyes flare up as a massive ball of green chi gathers around him, pulling apart the ground itself, while even Tian Shui's martial kings look on helplessly at the sight. Yun Xiao suddenly speaks up, confirming Qiaoyang's identity. He asks him how Yu Wanbo is doing nowadays. This infuriates the elder even more, who reprimands the boy for trying to fool around with the name of the tower's third elder. Right then, Yun Xiao activates thought communication, telepathically asking Xiao Yang about the Thousand Treasures Tower's secret tool, the spatial communicator. Being a powerful tool that can break through spatial limitations to transmit voices to the other side of the formation. Its value is very high. Moreover, spatial communicators are extremely precious one-time use consumables. So even in the Thousand Treasures Tower's inner circle, only martial grandmasters or above would know of such a top-secret communication tool, let alone possess one. Chevian gets confused, questioning how a mere teen knows of it. Suddenly, the reincarnated soul asks the elder to convey this message to Yu Wanbo. Outside Crimson Crescent City, an old friend on the Purple Cloud Peak from 20 years ago misses him. Sounds fruity. I'm in. Between the steep price of the spatial communicator and the consequences of contacting Yu Wanbo in vain, Chao Yang feels reluctant to trust Yun Xiao's words. At the same time, he realizes that killing an actual old friend of Yu Wanbo will result in an even more severe punishment. As if to read his mind, Yun Xiao assures Chao Yang that there's no need to worry and promises to take responsibility if things go south. With this, Elder Yin disperses his qi and descends to the ground. Seeing this, Ling Ding is left wondering what Yun Xiao said to calm Chao Yang down, considering even she wasn't able to do so. Right then, Elder Yin brings out his storage ring, summoning a spatial communicator from it. While everyone looks on with awe, Chao Yang begins the spatial communication process. Countless array-like formations erupt from the tool, and he sends Yun Xiao's message to the third elder. Thousands of miles from Martial Flame City, a peach blossom tree blooms in all its glory. Surrounded by high peaks, a humble abode houses numerous disciples, sitting before their master, the Thousand Treasures Tower's third elder, Yu Wanbo. While scribbling some markings into the air, his spatial communicator suddenly starts ringing. Seeing their third elder get disturbed at such a time, the disciples conclude that the message has to be something very important. However, upon hearing that it's from Yin Chao Yang of the Dust Flame Empire, they are left questioning. What important matter can arise from such a small country? One of the disciples even feels offended, as Yin Chao Yang is reporting to his superior despite being his direct subordinate. Right then, Yu Wanbo reads the message, shouting out in disbelief. The third elder then abruptly stands up, sending shockwaves all across the island. Surprised by this act, one of his subordinates wonders if something terrible happened at their Dust Flame Empire branch. However, Yu Wanbo remains silent and breaks out into a cold sweat. As the spatial communicator in his hand shatters, the third elder exits the residence and starts floating over the nearby body of water. Yu Wanbo's actions confuse his subordinates, but they intently look on nonetheless. Suddenly, the third elder starts laughing maniacally. Tears of joy start flowing down his face, and Yu Wanbo celebrates. Having always believed this to be the case, he feels glad that Gu Feiyang is still alive. Meanwhile, Chao Yang's patience bears fruit as he finally receives a response from Yu Wanbo. When the spatial communicator shatters, Yun Xiao asks him what he said. Drumroll, please. As per Yu Wanbo's command, Chao Yang asks the boy to recite the sentence that follows his. Yun Xiao successfully manages to do so, shocking Elder Yin immensely. The latter suddenly gets on his knees, formally greeting the former. Seeing a martial grandmaster, pay respect to their young master Yun. Even his allies look on in disbelief. Only the world's biggest glazer, Jia Rong, remains unsurprised by this feat. Telling Chao Yang to get up, Yun Xiao wonders what Yu Wanbo said to make him act like this. Elder Yin reveals that he was ordered to feed his corpse to the dogs if he couldn't answer it. In the case of a correct answer, though, Chao Yang was told to treat Yun Xiao like he would treat Yu Wanbo himself. Bursting into wild laughter, Yun Xiao tells his allies to get back to what they were doing, announcing that they are all on the same side. Yu Shang smiles, concluding that the boy must have given the martial grandmaster some information on Gu Feiyang. After all, a martial grandmaster wouldn't have bowed down to a mere teen otherwise. While Yun Shang wonders when she will be able to meet the Great Lord, Da Sheng orders the student army to leave. Over with Yun Xiao, he apologizes to Qiu Yan for causing him trouble and asks how he can make it up to him. Declaring that the evildoers' corpses do just that, Elder Yin starts making excuses on Yun Xiao's behalf. He is so good at sucking up to him. that even G.R. Rong feels threatened. Blood's going band for band and glazing. Right then, Chao Yang claps his hands to summon his troops, announcing that Xingyang Jia and Cheng Fei Ji should die for breaking the rules of the Thousand Treasures Tower. He commands them to clean up their corpses and send them back to the Dust Flame Empire. The rest, however, are to be just dragged outside the city and burned. Ling Ding-er and Yu Rong note that there hasn't been an exception. In the Thousand Treasures Tower's ironclad rules for hundreds of years, not even for the Heaven-gathering sect. So seeing Chao Yang blatantly disregard them for a teen like Yun Xiao leaves them in utter disbelief. Right then, the martial grandmaster asks the reincarnated soul if he has any others for him, vowing to treat them like those of Yuan Bo. This act leaves Yun Xiao's allies questioning reality, making them wonder if being so humble is part of a peerless martial grandmaster's shtick. Thanking Chao Yang for everything he has done so far, Yun Xiao promises to come look for him if he needs anything else in the future. Elder Yin then gives the boy a gold VIP card for use in the Commerce Guild, allowing him to buy anything in their auctions for a 30% discount. With this, Chao Yang feels that he has established himself with Yun Xiao. Even though the latter is a young teen, the former thinks that sucking up to him before he becomes a powerful person is the right choice. After all, there aren't a lot of people who have managed to earn Yuan Bo's respect. Suddenly, Yun Xiao questions if the Thousand Treasures Tower there have any heavenly universe-cleansing crystals or sulfuric haze. As Chao Yang is about to get someone to check, Ling Ding-er chimes in, revealing that she can ask someone from the Tiandang Yuan Commerce Guild to send the items right away. Elder Yin tries to say that the Thousand Treasures Tower's stock will be better, but Ling Ding-er protests and declares that the goods are already on the way. This annoys Chao Yang, prompting Yun Xiao to assure him that his kindness has been acknowledged. Seeing a regional elder of the Thousand Treasures Tower licking the boy's boots, Ling Ding-er realizes that her plan to recruit him by using the Tiandang Yuan Commerce Guild's influence is now out of the cards. Having searched for the items in the entirety of Tian Shui just to fail, Xiao Qing Wang and Li Chunyang get shocked to see two world-famous Commerce Guilds fight over the privilege to give them to him for free. They wonder what Yun Xiao actually did, wanting to question him later. He just got that unspoken riz. Right then, Chao Yang gives the reincarnated soul a VIP badge for the Thousand Treasures auction. Thanking him for it, Yun Xiao starts heading off with Qing Wang and Chun Yang, only to get followed by Yu Rong and Ding Ling-er. Soon, they arrive at the Martial Flame City's meeting hall. Being a very busy teenager, Yun Xiao tells the duo to quickly get to the point. Ling Ding-er reveals that Tian Yuan Commerce Guild is facing a threat nowadays and wants his help, promising a satisfactory reward. After a momentary silence, the reincarnated soul questions if the time is ripe to hold the Commerce Alliance Tandem event this year. Impressed that someone who has only lived in Tian Shui knows of this, Ling Ding-er wonders if he also knows of her guild's unfortunate position. During the Commerce Alliance Tandem event, tests are held in both martial and refining arts in order to determine the skills of each member of the various guilds, granting the top prospects power and authority. The participants must be part of any commerce guild, with the maximum age limit being 30 to ensure future growth. As such, every event brings significant changes to the Alliance's management. Ling Ding-er laments that the Tian Yuan Commerce Guild is ranked third to last in potential and power out of 20 guilds this year, becoming an easy target for up-and-comers. Being the guild's chairman, her father Ding Shan is trying to recruit young talents from all over the world to remedy their current predicament. Not being part of their commerce guild, Yun Xiao wonders how he would be of help, getting told that they can just give him a random identity. Forgery for the win. After all, the event will take place in Song Moonrise City after 6 months. As it's the main city of commerce in Tianwu, Yun Xiao agrees to help Ling Ding-er. However, he isn't willing to wait for half a year for payment and demands it up front right there. Yu Rong doesn't agree with this, pointing out that the boy will either run off with the money or die by then. Reprimanding the old man for daring to think so little of him, Yun Xiao politely asks him and Ling Ding-er to see themselves out. The girl tells him to ignore the geezer's nonsensical rambling and inquires about his reward. Yun Xiao demands 50 Green Wolf battleships in return, offending Yu Rong greatly, reminding the old man that beggars can't be choosers, The reincarnated soul annoyedly raises his price to 100 floating battleships. Ling Dinger pushes Yu Rong aside, promising to pay Yun Xiao the 50 ships he wants if they win the tandem event. The boy promises to get them first place in the event, making the Tianyuan Commerce Guild one of the 7 main management guilds. However, his price has risen to 100 Green Wolf battleships now, not 50. As Ling Dinger wonders if he is really telling the truth, Yun Xiao pridefully declares that he will be a 4 quadrants realm martial lord and a peak 4th tier refiner in half a year. The reincarnated soul rhetorically questions if there will be more than 7 young talents capable of beating him then. Since this would definitely make them a main management member, Ling Dinger questions how he can guarantee such a thing. The plot armor works in mysterious ways, lil bro. Yun Xiao then makes the ultimate promise. In case of failure, whatever he requests today, he vows to pay them back tenfold. Realizing that every commerce guild that was in their position before disappeared from the face of Tianwu in just a few years, Ling Dinger understands that she has no choice but to bet on Yun Xiao, even fulfilling his ridiculous demand of 100 4th tier refinement products. The girl asks for some time to buy and collect the 100 ships he wants. However, Yun Xiao remarks that he doesn't have that luxury and questions how many she has right now. Ling Dinger reveals that they have 30 Green Wolf battleships and 3 5th tier Tiger King battleships. As each Tiger King battleship can replace 10 Green Wolf ones, Yun Xiao tells her to just fill in the remaining 40 with 4th tier marshals or Shuan weapons instead. Just like that, their deal gets finalized. Outside, Yu Rong apologizes for making the guild pay double. However, Ling Dinger tells him not to worry, as it won't matter anyway if Yun Xiao manages to live up to his promise. Moreover, getting him on their side will be good for them in the future too. Of course, Yu Rong still thinks that Yun Xiao's claims are too outrageous, declaring him unreliable. Ling Dinger then reminds the geezer what his own personal investigation revealed about the boy, making him sigh. The girl announces that even if the boy can't fulfill his claims, just competing with his abilities as a 3rd tier refiner will put them in a good place, since they don't have to worry about martial arts. After all, half a year is enough for Ling Dinger herself to become a 5 elements realm martial king. Back over at the Martial Flame City's meeting hall, Xiao Qingwang and Li Chunyang are left in disbelief upon learning of the deal that Yun Xiao made and wonder if they are dreaming. Remarking that this is no time to do such a thing, the boy understands that he was only able to put such a ridiculous price on himself because of the Tianyuan Commerce Guild's unique situation. Meanwhile, Xiao Qingwang wonders if Yu Xiao is worried about the Xingyang and Chung families. The Xingyang family would be relatively easy to deal with, but fighting against the Chung family would be difficult, even if the boy used the whole of Tian Shui. Noting that they need to start making preparations soon either way, Yun Xiao tells the martial kings not to worry too much, since he still has some tricks up his sleeve. Bro thinks he is the trickster. Qingwang hopes that he can be there to support Yun Xiao then, lamenting that he won't be of much use to him in the future of his injury. The reincarnated soul tells Qingwang to cheer up, promising to not only clear him of his injury, but also make him ascend to a 6 Directions Realm Martial Grandmaster in just 1 month. Shocked by this claim, the Martial King wonders how he will do it. Trust me, mutters Yun Xiao, declaring that Qingwang will see when it's time. He then hands Chun Yang the VIP badge, wanting him to send it to Zhang Qingfan ASAP. Sometime later, Yun Xiao looks over the city, along with Wu Zixi and Jia Rong. Named after the highest mountain Qiyun Peak, the Qiyun Range catches his attention. As Wu Zixi reveals that many monsters reside there, Yun Xiao gets excited and questions if there are any noble family members in the mountains as well. Since the former has heard many such rumors, Yun Xiao concludes that there must be experts in the Qiyun Range. Since the soul power is low density, means they aren't that powerful, Yun Xiao gets fired up to borrow that energy for himself. Free real estate baity. Questioning how he's going to borrow soul power, Jia Rong asks Yun Xiao if he will return it. Ignoring his query, the reincarnated soul tells him to take the 2,000-strong Heaven's core and set up 3 specific arrays below Martial Flame City right away. 9 Dragons Soul Absorption, Taishu Heaven's Capital, and Great Sun Golden Sword. Reading the names of the arrays, Jia Rong gets blinded by the light of alchemy, having never heard of them in his entire life. Yun Xiao then decides to enlighten his ignorant servant. Upon activation, the 9 Dragons Soul Absorption Array will absorb soul power from the Qiyun Mountain Range. As for the Tai Shu Heaven's Capital Array and the Great Sun Golden Sword Array, they are part of the Grand Mountain Guardian formation, used for attack and defense respectively. Hearing this, Jia Rong starts trembling. In the whole of Duskflame Empire, only the Heaven Gathering sect has something of the sort, but somehow his young master Yun pulled out 2 of them at once. This makes Jia Rong lose all confidence, causing him to question if someone as lowly as him can even set up such a formation. Instead of encouraging him, Yun Xiao flat out declares that it's impossible for him to do so. Bro does not know how to sugarcoat things. Even if Jia Rong could set it up, the formation consumes primordial stones at an unmanageable rate. As such, Yun Xiao has simplified it greatly, leaving only the basic attack and defense functions intact. With this, even someone like Jia Rong should be able to set up the formation effectively. The reincarnated soul then hands his servant a storage ring, allowing him to use as many primordial stones as he wants from now on. Yun Xiao also gives one to Wu Zixi, sending him to the 1,000 Treasures auction to sell the items within it. Both men are left in awe at Prince Wu Chun's great actions, vowing to serve him with more diligence than ever before. Later, at the City Lord's residence, Meng Wu informs Yun Xiao that the Tianyuan Commerce Guild and the 1,000 Treasures Tower have both sent over the items they respectively promised. Walking towards the girl, the reincarnated soul entrusts her to take care of the residence's daily affairs. As the Chamberlain, Meng Wu gets flustered, believing that she isn't worthy of such an important position. Tapping the maiden on the shoulder, Yun Xiao assures her that she can do it. However, he insists that Meng Wu prioritizes cultivation over trivial tasks, assigning them to her subordinates, so that only the very important things are left for her to do personally. Yun Xiao then heads back to his room, leaving Meng Wu red as a tomato, and all sorts of naughty thoughts start flowing to her mind. Fluttering side to side like a love-struck fool, the girl vows to go along with his wishes, no matter how raunchy they are. Right then, the oblivious Meng Bai questions whose wishes she is talking about, seeing Meng Wu's face burning up. He worries about her getting sick a lot recently. Of course, such foolish concern for his sister gets the poor kid smashed into the floor. Accurate sibling behavior. Back over with Yun Xiao, he sits on the wooden floor in the bedchamber. After finishing his meditation, the boy brings out his storage ring, summoning items he bought earlier. Observing the so-called soul fruit, Yun Xiao notes that it's actually a 4 quadrants yi fruit, something his body wouldn't have been able to withstand had it not been for the creation link technique. Without an ounce of hesitation, Yun Xiao swallows the fruit whole. A large amount of chi starts swirling all over, forcing him to use creation link to keep it under control. Soon, the hefty amount of energy settles down, getting absorbed by Yun Xiao. Just like that, the reincarnated soul advances to the 5-star martial master level. Wishing that he could have such a fruit to eat every day, Yun Xiao turns his attention over to the blood-striped tiger. Intently observing it, the boy realizes that the beast was about to evolve into a tiger king before its death, having fought tooth and nail for the 4 quadrants yi fruit for that very reason. Regardless, since it's no use crying over spilled milk, Yun Xiao prepares to extract the tiger's pair of tusks and its blood to form his sword. He borrows the immensely powerful shadow of the true fire of life for the refinement process, forcing the incomplete 3rd-tier blade into immediate submission. Hoping to use the tiger blood as a catalyst, Yun Xiao hurls it into the phoenix as fire. As the blade begins to take form, he throws in the 2 tiger tusks as well, condensing the divine flames to refine it. However, Yun Xiao's Yuan Qi empties out instantly. As if this wasn't bad enough, the roof above his head starts to rumble. Realizing that thunderbolts will strike whenever he refines, Yun Xiao contemplates if the true fire of life is a bit too overpowered. You know it's true when the protagonist is saying this. Crashing through the roof of the bedchamber, a small thunderbolt strikes the Shuan weapon, sending the reincarnated soul flying onto the blood-striped tiger. However, Yun Xiao feels a tad bit disappointed at the small magnitude of the lightning. In the same vein, he notes that even getting struck by the thin thunderbolts has greatly increased the sword's energy. Exhausted, Yun Xiao lays down on the blood-striped tiger. Moments later, he lets out a smirk. And thus, named after its tiger-like fierceness, the tiger tusk sword is born. The Thousand Treasures Tower sets up the auction in the largest square in Martial Flame City, befitting its status as a VVIP event. In the auction's square backyard, Yin Xiao Yang gets scolded by another elder guardian of the Thousand Treasures Tower, Gan Diming. Elder Yin protests, but Diming refuses to budge, not accepting his proposal to add an auction item at the very last minute, when the list of auction items has already been published. Gao Yan reminds him that such an exception has been made before. However, Diming insists that it's only because it was a precious 5th-tier item. To make matters worse, the Thousand Treasures Tower's Dusk Flame Empire branch master, Shu Zizhui, agrees with Diming, mainly because Elder Yin himself doesn't know what item he is submitting for the auction. Despite this, Yao Yang vows to bear the consequences alone if anything goes wrong. This offends Diming even more, who threatens to report this insolence, along with the matter where death was involved in the auction a few days ago, to Lord Yuhong himself. Gao Yang bursts into a cold sweat, but Yuan Bo's earlier words on how he is to treat Yun Xiao make him brim with confidence. Elder Yin then pridefully walks off, declaring that he will explain things to Xia Yuhong himself. As for Diming, he doesn't deserve to know. Let him know king. Turning over to Zizhui, Diming complains, wanting to report to Yuhong as soon as possible. Suddenly, the branch master asks him what he thinks of Gao Yan. Selfish, greedy, narrow-minded, and basically a good-for-nothing, if they exclude his martial cultivation. This is what Diming thinks of Elder Yin, questioning why such a man would dare offend not only the Xingyang and Cheng families, but also risk getting disciplined by Xia Yuhang, just for the city lord of Martial Flame City. Zizhui concludes that Gao Yang knows something they don't. Being a good judge of character, the branch master understands that Elder Yin wouldn't have been backing this mysterious city lord unless he had full confidence in him. So Zizhui decides to let Gao Yang do as he pleases for now, wanted to see what exactly has given him such bravery. Sometime later, the auction finally starts. Greeting the esteemed guests, the branch master welcomes the main auctioneer, Mr. Mei. Looking over to the VIP area, Zizhui sees that Chao Yang is keeping the Martial Flame City Lord company, in the room right next to the Dusk Flame Empire's royalty. This intrigues him greatly, making him wonder how Elder Yin deems a mere City Lord's status to be equivalent to royalties. Meanwhile, Yun Xiao sits comfortably in the VIP area, accompanied by the Meng siblings, Xing Wang, Da Sheng, Yun Shan, and Chao Yang. Watching the auction through a screen, the reincarnated soul marvels at the Thousand Treasures Tower's power, as they have even managed to invite someone from the Mei family to host the auction. Revealing that all the previous auctions have been held by Mr. Mei, Chao Yang politely inquires about the item that Yun Xiao had him put on the list. The boy thanks Elder Yin for his help, remarking that he will see when it's time. With Mr. Mei there, Yun Xiao is assured that his item's worth will be recognized. Despite not knowing this specific Mr. Mei, since everyone from the Mei family is called Mr. Mei, the reincarnated soul does know that their master is called Mei Yi Xian. Moreover, as everyone from the Mei family has a weird hereditary quirk that enables them to sense treasures and precious items, any auction directed by a Mr. Mei will always give the fairest prices. Since the Mei family is very secretive, not even Gao Yan knows any of their names. However, a 15-year-old just blurted it loudly in front of him, leaving the elder in disbelief. The future is now. Old man. Right then, the first item of the auction is brought forth, being the most valuable out of the 4th-tier pills. It is called the 1 Yuan Purple Soul Pill. Uninterested, Yun Xiao asks Xiao Yang if anyone from the Cheng or Xingyang family is around. The latter reveals that the Xingyang family didn't have a guest room in the first place, while the Cheng family left their room on account of a family member's death, which is why he gave it to the former. Even an 8-star martial king like Xiao Qingwan deems the guest rooms to be special, proving their quality. Right then, Yun Xiao inquires if any of the rooms belong to the Zhou family. His allies instantly understand that he's looking for the man who kidnapped Qin Rushui, Zhou Yushan. As Xiaoyan reveals the Zhou family's room, Yun Xiao smirks, worrying everyone there. Meanwhile, the 1 Yuan Purple Soul Pill gets sold and the auction proceeds. A 3rd-tier soul-rendering cleaver is brought onto the stage, being an item that was refined by the legendary 9th-tier sovereign-class refiner, Luo Tian in his very early days. Of course, Yun Xiao thinks that such a thing isn't even worth looking at. Fangirling over the godlike existence, Yun Xiao suddenly smiles in the boy's direction, thinking about that lord being a godlike existence as well. While Yun Xiao gets all uncomfortable, the third-tier soul-rendering cleaver is sold for 8,000 mid-tier primordial stones, remarking that the current Luo Tian could refine 100 such crappy weapons in a day. Yun Xiao jokes about kidnapping the legendary existence to make himself rich, leaving everyone in the room in utter disbelief. Flawless plan, if you ask me. As Xiaoyang begs the reincarnated soul not to make such jokes, since it's equivalent to courting death, the next auction item gets announced. It is a 5th-tier purple tripod, named 5-line tripod. Seeing this, Yun Xiao finally becomes interested in the auction. Not only does the tripod enable even a 4th-tier refiner to utilize the full extent of the 5 elements realm, but its real value lies in the fact that it was created by a late 9th-tier sovereign class refiner. Lo and behold, the 5-line tripod is the creation of none other than Lord Gu Feiyang himself. Chatter erupts in the auction house as people start shouting out the reasons why the 5-line tripod is one of the most valuable items to be sold. Confirming this sentiment, Mr. May declares that no base price will be set for the item, leaving the interested buyers to bid the starting price. Countless praises are sung for the Peak 9 Heaven Realm Martial Sovereign, Gu Feiyang, and his groundbreaking treasure that possesses the cultivation essence of the 5 elements realm. Back over in the 5th guest room, Luo Yunshan turns her eyes to Yun Xiao, who seems to be smirking for some reason. Suddenly, the boy asks Xiaoyang if he wants to participate in the bid as well, having sensed that his palms are sweating. The elder sighs out, remarking that a martial grandmaster has no need for the 5th-tier item. However, he is a bit interested, since such a high-quality treasure is an uncommon sight, even with the 1,000 Treasures Tower's wealth. As Yun Xiao gets off his case, Xiaoyang is left questioning how a mere 15-year-old is able to read him so perfectly. Dude is just built differently. Moments later, the bidding begins. Starting off at 8,000 middle-tier primordial stones, the price soon rises to 5,000 high-tier ones. Right then, a voice erupts from the 4th guest room, bidding 10,000 high-tier primordial stones for the item. Since this amount of high tiers is worth 1,000,000 middle tiers, the onlookers realize that the royalties are getting involved. So, there's no point in them bidding anymore. While Mr. May tells everyone to remain quiet, Yun Xiao bids 12,000 high-tier primordial stones from his 5th guest room. Of course, this is just a bluff, since even his entire net worth doesn't add up to this hefty amount. Inside the Duskflame Empire's guest room, the court prince Shinryu questions who is next door. His uncle, Yue Jiyulin, guesses that it might be the Chung family. However, he cannot confirm this fact since his universal detect is being blocked off by someone powerful who's at least a 4th-tier refiner. Who's gonna tell him? Despite receiving news earlier that someone from the Chung family got killed in the 1,000 Treasures Tower, Ji Yulin thinks that it was a false alarm and the person involved somehow survived. Ryu agrees, deeming it impossible for anyone other than the Chung family to have a 4th-tier refiner with them. Even though the tripod is already overpriced, the court prince decides to raise the price anyway. Fulfilling his command, Ji Yulin 15,000 high-tier primordial stones. Yun Xiao recognizes that it's a losing battle and sits back down, lamenting that he didn't refine more of these expensive tripods to sell. Going once, going twice, right as Mr. May is about to finalize the bid at 15,000 high-tier primordial stones, the Zhou family raises the price to 18,000. Understanding that Zhou Yushan wants to acquire the 5-line tripod to become a martial king, Ryu decides to let him have it since it will only add to the Duskflame Empire's strength. However, he regrets that the 1,000 Treasures Tower managed to extort such an absurd amount out of them. Meanwhile, in the Zhou family's guest room, the martial king Pang Cheng-Wen sighs out, vowing to bring the 5-line tripod back with them no matter what. The great martial master Zhou Chuan celebrates that his father won't discipline him for butting such an absurd price, since royalties were involved. Shirong Da, another of the Zhou family's martial king, also notes that they only lost so much money because of Lord Yushan's recent cultivation improvement. Obviously, it's no use crying over spilled milk now, as Mr. May officially announces the bid to be closed. Surprisingly, Yun Xiao is over the moon that the Zhou family was the one to buy the 5-line tripod. Everyone is left confused by his behavior, prompting the reincarnated soul to explain. that it's better this way since he can just borrow the item from the Zhou family now. Already familiar with his shenanigans, Qing Wang, Yu Shang, and Da Shang understand that Yun Xiao isn't kidding and lose all joy. Meanwhile, the mischievous boy grins with excitement at the thought of killing and stealing from the wealthy. Putting it as respectfully as he possibly can, Chaoyang expresses doubt that the Zhou family would be willing to lend him such a treasure. He tries to change the topic, revealing that the item Yun Xiao put up for auction is about to come up. Hearing this, the reincarnated soul brings out some jade letters. Yun Xiao wants to put more stuff up for auction so that he can afford the treasures that come out later. The boy then touches the jade letter against his head, making it glow bright gold. Handing it to Mengwu, he whispers something in her ear. Xiaoyang wonders if Yun Xiao is going to put the jade letters up for auction, worrying that this stunt is going to be the end for him. After all, there's no way a third-tier refiner can record any information worth over the fourth tier. Stepping over to Mr. Fei, Mengwu hands him the jade letters. Announcing that the items have been added late, the auctioneer guesses that they contain some high-class techniques. Yet again, this makes Xiaoyang tremble in fear. Nah, Blood is a certified scaredy cat. Gan Diming and Shu Zhuo intently look on, as Mr. Fei puts the jade letter against his head to extract the information inside. Suddenly, the auctioneer starts coughing out blood uncontrollably and falls to the ground, causing the entire auction to erupt in shock. While the branch manager rushes over to Mr. Mei, Chaoyang wonders if the earlier information was so low tier that it made him vomit blood out of rage. Right then, Mr. Mei announces that the information recorded in the jade letter is above the 6th tier level. As his power was lacking, he got hurt trying to appraise it by force. Sounds like a skill issue to me. Repeatedly apologizing for his incompetence, the auctioneer declares that they will have to invite an expert from the Mei family to assess the true value of the jade letters, leaving Xiaoyang in utter disbelief. Since the 7th tier level contains the laws of heaven and earth, the presence of such a priceless treasure in the auction causes widespread commotion throughout the entire venue. Zhuo asks Mr. Mei if he is completely certain about the jade letter's content being 7th tier, getting told that it's most definitely above 6th tier. After all, the auctioneer's appraisal has never failed on an item 6th tier or below. Hearing this, the commotion riles up even more. Zhuo quickly instructs Diming to raise the auction's defense system to the special class, telling those present to stay put. He also orders everyone to retract their energy, declaring that anyone who disobeys will be killed on the spot. Turning over to the VVIP guests on the 2nd floor, Zhuo asks for their cooperation, with 1,000 Treasures Tower requesting their aid in dealing with any powerful troublemakers. As the branch manager vows to prepare for the worst-case scenario, the Dust Flame Empire's noble Xin family pledges him their help. Zhuo then asks Mengwu to unveil the 3 jade letters instead, flustering her. However, Yun Xiao instantly activates private sound transmission to ease the girl. Detecting that the 4th-tier refiner next door is using sound transmission, Yueji Yulin concludes that his previous assumption about the Chung family's people still being alive was false. Ruyang wonders who else it could be, getting told that they should just wait and see, since they can't miss the opportunity to acquire a 7th-tier item. Right then, Mengwu passes on her young master Yun's message. She reveals that the 3 jade letters contain the recipe for the 7th-tier Lesser Sun Yuan pill, the refinement method for the 5 Mountain Dawn gown, and the design for the 7th-tier Ashen Wolf sword, respectively. Unable to believe his ears, Zhuo starts shaking the poor girl wildly, questioning if she is really telling the truth. About to start throwing hands, if blood doesn't stop doing that. Mengwu swears that it's the truth. After all, her young master Yun said so. Witnessing the entire scene, Yueji Yulin gets his doubts confirmed. The refiner next door to them is none other than the Martial Flame City Lord who killed Cheng Fei-ji, the same person to whom Emperor Qin Yue himself granted the title of Prince Wucheng, Li Yun Xiao. Having never heard this name before, Ruyang questions how a mere city lord in a small country can have 7th-tier items. Of course, Ji Yulin himself only took notice of Yun Xiao after he killed Cheng Fei-ji, vowing to investigate him when he gets back. Mr. Mei advises Mengwu to auction the 3 jade letters off separately, remarking that they will be too expensive to sell for a good price otherwise. Hearing something from Yun Xiao's private sound transmission, the girl decides to listen to Mr. Mei's advice. Once again announcing the presence of 3 7th-tier jade letters, the auctioneer declares that Mengwu will explain their effects now. Drool drips down Elder Shu's mouth as he brings out his life savings to acquire the Lesser Sun Yuan pill's recipe no matter what. Mengwu begins listing the effects of the 7th-tier items. The Lesser Sun Yuan pill allows males to recover their original pure young form, restoring their body to that of a boy. As for the 5 Mountain Dawn gown, it is a battle gown that negates all attacks below the Martial Supreme level. Lastly, the Ashen Wolf sword is a 7th-tier sword formation that can kill even Martial Supreme upon activation. The people in the auction start fawning over the 5 Mountain Dawn gown and the Ashen Wolf sword, deeming the Lesser Sun Yuan pill to be useless. Of course, Zi Zhuo knows how wrong they truly are, labeling everyone present as clueless idiots. After a wild back and forth, the 3 jade letters get auctioned off for a whopping 22,000 high-tier primordial stones in total. Here comes the money. Dala Dala. Shu Zi Zhuo buys the recipe. For the Lesser Sun Yuan pill, Waxinru Yu obtains the 5 Mountain Dawn gown. As for the jade letter containing the Ashen Wolf sword, an unknown entity on the VVIP floor gets its hands on it. Unconcerned with where they ended up, Yun Xiao joyfully swims around in his newly obtained riches, remarking that he should sell stuff like this more often. All the adults in the room are left in disbelief, wondering if the brat has even more 7th-tier treasures in his head. Xiaoyan's common sense is left in tatters as well, convincing him that Yun Xiao is a demon. Backstage, after the auction, Zi Zhuo orders Diming to halt all investigations related to Yun Xiao instantly. Elder Gan protests, since this event only makes the boy more suspicious. Calling him a fool, Zi Zhuo points out that someone capable of putting multiple 7th-tier items for sale must be backed by a supremely powerful force. Since even Yin Xiaoyang has decided to follow Yun Xiao, they can't afford to bear the consequences of enraging him. Announcing that they will remain neutral towards the boy, Zi Zhuo prepares to leave the Dust Flame Empire for a few days, leaving Diming in charge. With the most interesting part of the auction over, Mr. Mei moves on with the event. A 4th-tier array device is brought on stage, containing many extremely rare soul training arrays. Despite wanting to buy it as any refiner would, Zi Zhuo is unable to do so, being broke after buying the Lesser Sun Yuan pill. Bro, just like me. On the other hand, Yun Xiao understands that all array devices that are capable of blessing soul power have been left behind by ancient powers. Even someone like him is unable to refine such a thing, making them extremely rare. In fact, the only reason Yun Xiao sold the 3 jade letters was to get enough primordial stones to buy it. He bids a hefty amount of 5,000 high-tier primordial stones for the array device, only to get outbid at 6,000. Of course, Yun Xiao completely crushes the opposition by directly jumping to 10,000 high-tier primordial stones. Just as the item seems to be sold, Xin Yurong bids 12,000 for it. However, he is only playing around to see just how high a price Yun Xiao can pay. Annoyed, the reincarnated soul counterbids a whopping 15,000. The bidding war between the imperial family and the 7th-tier recipe's mysterious owner greatly excites the onlookers, and it riles up with each passing second. Soon, the array device's price rises to 20,000 high-tier primordial stones, called by Yun Xiao. Yue Ji Yulin begs the court prince to stop messing around, as they will suffer great losses if their bid ends up going through. Hearing this, Ruyang finally lets the refiner next door off the hook, after making him pay twice his original bid. As Mr. Mei officially closes the bid at 20,000 high-tier primordial stones, Yun Xiao becomes furious, vowing to make the Dust Flame Empire's Xin family pay the amount they cost him back 1,000 times over. He instantly turns over to Mengwu, wanting her to help him with a certain matter. Just like that, even a martial grandmaster like Xiaoyang becomes afraid of the boy's guts. Conqueror's haki too strong. Whispering something to Mengwu, Yun Xiao sends her off. He then suddenly stands up, thanking Elder Yin for his help, and bidding him farewell mid-auction. Walking in the hallway, Wenbai asks Yun Xiao about his sister's whereabouts. Yun Xiao remarks that he has tasked her with doing some things, revealing that they are leaving early to make some preparations themselves. Understanding the implication of these words, Chun Da Sheng screams out, questioning if Yun Xiao really intends to rob the Xin family. The reincarnated soul assures him that they will deal with that later, relieving Da Sheng. However, his momentary relief instantly gets snatched away as Yun Xiao declares that he must obtain the Zhou family's 5-line tripod. Just like that, the crazed refiner ropes his companions with him into committing more acts of thievery. With a bright smile, Yun Xiao reveals that he checked the Zhou family's guest room with Universal Detect, finding only 3 people, 2 7-star martial kings, and a 1-star great martial master. Already devoid of all life, the adults are forced to hear Yun Xiao go on about how their plan needs to be perfect for the robbery to succeed. Shijiao Qingwang scolds the boy for playing with their lives, arguing that fighting 2 7-star martial kings is a hill too high to climb for even him. Still as nonchalant as ever, Yun Xiao asks the 8-star martial king how long it would take for him to kill one of them. Pondering over it carefully, Qingwang concludes that it will take him at least 15 minutes to kill the enemy. However, he might not be able to kill him at all if the 7-star martial king tries to flee. Yun Xiao promises to give Qingwang a strength and origin blasting pill later that will allow him to become a peak martial king temporarily. Of course, the commander shouldn't consume it if he can truly finish off one martial king in 15 minutes. Since his body might undergo side effects, womp womp, man up dude, the reincarnated soul takes the responsibility of somehow keeping the other martial king busy, deciding to ignore the great martial master altogether. Shijiao Qingwang expresses his doubt at this statement, remarking that his 7-star martial king is too strong an opponent for Yun Xiao, Yun Shang, and Da Shum to trap. Turns out, setting up a trap for the enemy on the way back to the Dust Flame Empire is exactly why Yun Xiao wants to leave the auction early. Of course, even with that, he won't be able to hold off a 7-star martial king for more than minutes, making Qingwang the key player in this plan. As the commander vows to live up to expectations, Yun Xiao heads off to set up the trap. Meanwhile, the 1,000 Treasures auction concludes. However, Mr. Mei asks everyone to stay for a moment, as Meng Wu has something to say. Stepping onto the stage, the girl announces that she serves the Martial Flame City Lord, Li Yun Xiao, who wants her to convey a few things. This revelation shocks everyone, making them wonder how a mere city lord was in possession of 7th-tier recipes. Meng Wu continues, declaring that her young master Yun is enlisting help to expand his city. So, they are holding a special enlistment today, granting hefty rewards to whoever joins their great cause. As Meng Wu starts listing down the countless benefits of marching behind Yun Xiao, the spectators are left in awe. Normally, they wouldn't believe such words. However, the Martial Flame City Lord's recent antics have proven that he possesses the resources to live up to such claims. Li Zhuo notes that Yun Xiao's terms will be alluring for any martial artist, considering many of them follow refiners like loyal dogs while only hoping to obtain something in return. So getting such great rewards just by signing up is a no-brainer. With the work hours like that'll, no one, just me. Looking on, Yue Ji Yulin wonders if Yun Xiao is trying to create a new martial sect, getting his hypothesis shut down by Ru Yan. Declaring that Yun Xiao is just looking to put on a show of power against the Xingyang and Cheng families, the court prince expresses interest in meeting him. Elsewhere, Meng Wu gets bombarded with questions about the time and location of the enlistment. Turns out, those interested just have to sign up at the Martial Flame City Lord's residence the next day. Having witnessed the whole scene firsthand, the Zhou family members in their guest room wonder if Yun Xiao really is a threat to them. However, they soon conclude it to be nonsense. Without delay, the 2 martial kings and the great martial master start heading back to return the tripod to their young lord, Zhou Yushan. On the way back, the Zhou family's Green Wolf battleship gets stuck in a terrain of tall mountains. This leaves Zhou Chuan confused, as the path had no such obstacles before, while the 2 martial kings press him for going the wrong way. He swears up and down that they are on the correct path. Suddenly, a giant mountain appears above their floating, making Pan Chung Wan and Shi Rong Da understand that they are up against a divine being capable of moving mountains and oceans. The Zhou family's trio avoids getting crushed just in time, albeit losing their ride in the process. Or so they thought. Falling to the ground, the 3 scaredy cats realize that they just fell for an illusion. Suddenly, Yun Xiao appears behind them, huffing and puffing. He unleashes the creation link, Universal Reaping Net, capturing the Green Wolf battleship instantly. Inquiring about the boy's identity, one of the martial kings rages and demands the ship back. He then declares that angering the Zhou family won't bode well for Yun Xiao. Standing there unfazed, Yun Xiao introduces himself as the martial flame city's lord and makes a funeral greeting. And thus, the monumental robbery begins. Can we get much higher? So high.